Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Chris, aka Starrapter, with Outer Rim Transmission. This is episode number 102, and we are talking all about the Bad Batch finale season 2, as well as season 3, episode 5 for The Mandalorian. Getting into all that with Milton, with Ben, and yeah, it's been a while. Milton, how's it going, man? I know we haven't heard your thoughts quite yet on the recent Star Wars releases, but how's life and everything?
Overall life is good. Today I might not be talking as much because I am dealing with a sickness. I'm trying to save my voice as much as possible.
Yep.
I'm going to try to push through this and talk about the episodes that we got of this past week. So I'm actually looking forward to give my thoughts on them. But other than that, everything's good. Just been busy with life like always.
Oh yeah, the man always on a mission. How's it going, Ben?
Good, good. I mean, it was a pretty good week overall, and it was a really good week for Star Wars, in my opinion. Great. I think both episodes were very good as a kind of a little preview to my thoughts on them, but I think both were very good, and it was a, really good week, I think, overall for Star Wars, especially since, we had these awesome episodes, and then now we're leading into Celebration next week.
Oh yeah, so much going on with Celebration. Speaking of which, you can catch my panel, the Bounty Hunters, Smugglers, and Gangsters, Scum and Villainy Through the Years panel over on Saturday at the convention, Saturday, April 8th, in the fan stage at 6 p.m. Yeah, don't worry about that Clone Wars panel happening at 5:30. I mean, come on, like we've already seen Clone Wars and we already know it's not going anywhere. It's done, it's over. Who wants to go to a 15-year anniversary? I mean, come on, it sounds boring, right? I mean, Dave Filoni, who cares about him, right? We're talking about bounty hunters with some of the creatives in this space, including Ethan Sachs from Marvel Comics, writing the current Bounty Hunters comics, as well as Adam Christopher, who wrote the awesome New York Times best-selling book Shadows of the Sith, also with the co-owner of Fantatrax, one of the biggest Star Wars fan websites around the globe. His name is Matt Booker, as well as some of my good friends over at Star Wars Underworld podcast. That is Dominic Jones and Kieran Duggan. So yeah, we have this entire team ready to talk to you guys, ready to gloat about the underworld of the Star Wars universe. So why wouldn't you want to go to that if you're there on Saturday? So yeah, you can go ahead and check that out. I will be moderating that panel. Hopefully I see as many of you guys there as well. But if you can't make it to the convention, I am going to be recording the entire panel. So I will have that available whenever I get back. I'm going on a 2-week hiatus over there. So speaking of which, yeah, this will be the last show we'll be doing for a couple weeks. I will be back in the middle of April. So we'll see what we can do there. All right. So we had 2 episodes to break into this week. Well, first off, I will just say what came out this week. We had Jabba's Palace issue number 1, as well as the High Republic issue number 7, and the Blade number 4. I have a review for all those on the channel. You can go check it out. I know I'm going very quickly, very truncated version of this opening show because we have so much to get to and so little time. For those of you that are watching this video, you can always listen to us on any podcast app of your choice. Just search Outer Rim Transmission. And if you're listening to us and want to basically take part in the chat and hang out with us here every Friday night, we go live over on youtube.com/Starrapter. Go ahead, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell icon so you'll be notified the moment we go live every Friday at 9 o'clock Eastern. There you go. So getting right into it, cutting to the chase, we had the Bad Batch, guys, and this has been interesting. This has been a very interesting journey because every week we get on here and we talk about not just one, but 2 Star Wars shows. In the case of this week, we're talking technically about 3 episodes of Star Wars shows here. So if we're going to first start off with the Bad Batch Season 2 finale, this one is called The Summit for Episode 15 and Episode 16, Plan 99. In this episode, we have just everything culminating. All the clones are starting to figure out, or at least they're trying to dig into what is happening with these clones. It's been a backstory the whole time, and we're trying to figure that out. We get a little bit of Crosshair. We get a lot with Omega, and a lot of action involving just a bunch of different characters there. So I'm going to throw over to Milton. What did you think about this? We're going to talk about both these episodes as if they're one, because I don't even know why they separate them. This should have just been episode 15 for 45 minutes. But anyway, I'll throw it your way, Milton. First impressions on this episode.
I like the finale. It was really, really good. I say this anytime we get an episode like this. This is what the show should have been all season. All season. And I loved how the tone was consistent in both episodes. I love the characters being pushed in a way that we've never seen them be pushed before. And I know we're going to get into spoilers a little bit, and obviously, we all knew the whole Sid bullshit was going to happen. We knew he was going to turn on them. I think we actually said it like weeks ago. I think might have been Ben that might have said, or whatever, might have said like, "Hey, Sid's probably going to turn on these guys because
whenever that guy foreshadowed him, whenever that villain foreshadowed him."
Yeah, I think it was like was that episode 2 maybe or episode 4 or whatever
Something
it was.
like
But it's like I think we were like, yeah, we saw that coming because you can clearly see they want to phase away from her, and the only way they're going to do that is she turns on them. So again, I love the sacrifice that was made, and you kind of foresaw that whenever you saw Wanda Sykes' character flirt with that particular character, saying that, hey, like, we aren't just talking. So it was like, okay, something could happen to this character. I just love the overall essence of the way this episode looked, how it felt, how it sounded. And again, this should have been the entire season. I feel like I wasn't on the show last week, even last week's episode, which was the Crosshair episode, from my understanding, correct? When we tried to escape.
Yep.
That was a good episode too. Like literally, these last 3 episodes were really, really good. And it's like, wow, what potential the show could have been if it was consistently like this. I know we're just talking about the finale tonight. My last point goes back to a point I made before, but this show or this season has been strictly about failure. Like literally, they fail again. And it's like that's been a consistent theme, and I love how they kept to that because hopefully season 4 is where they get to redeem themselves and obviously, come back from how things tragically ended with this finale.
Yeah, very well said. A lot of things in there we're going to be breaking down specifically. Over to you, Ben. What were your first thoughts on this episode, or these 2 episodes, this finale?
Well, I mean, Milton, as very often so on here, Milton pretty much took all of my points I was going to make, actually, word for word, pretty much. Yeah, like, I can agree with, like, literally everything you just said, Milton. Like, the season, or this finale was really good. If this show would have been like this the entire time, we would have been saying this was one of the best seasons of Star Wars animation we've seen in a long time, since Rebels probably. So, it's so hard to gauge a lot of things with this show just because it's like a roller coaster. But at this moment, just for the finale specifically, I think it was really good. The stakes were high. The sacrifices that were made were really, really well done. There were definitely some intriguing and interesting decisions, to say the least, especially the way the finale ended, I would say. And then, yeah, I just think overall it was a really good way to end the season and to wrap it. And then, the fact that both episodes were good, that was important because it did make me a little nervous going into it, because I was like, oh man, if they're releasing both episodes, does that mean the first episode of the 2 is going to be kind of like, not great? But the first episode was really good as well. So it's good that both episodes were consistent in tone, and I'm really happy. I think they succeeded. They kind of like stuck the landing on the finale at least. And I'm actually, unlike season 1, we all can go back to like season 1, but when we finished season 1, it was like, my thoughts were, I'm not excited for the next season. I wasn't excited whatsoever for season 2. It was like, man, this kind of stinks, like how they did a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, I don't know about you, Milton, and then we'll go to Chris, but like, I don't know about you, but like for me anyways, I'm excited for season 3 actually.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, like just because how it ended, with how they honestly, like, we now know there's a direction for this show. Literally, like, the last 3 episodes clearly showed, okay, what season 4 needs to be. If I'm Dave Filoni and his creative team, if I'm predicting this correctly, I assume that most fandoms who are watching this particular show enjoyed the last 3 episodes are probably saying, "Oh yes, this is what we wanted. I'm glad we're seeing this. This is pushing the narrative of the Empire, the clones, the Emperor, his agenda, everything." Hopefully, season 4 can pay that off. If the fans are saying that on social media or whatever, and Lucasfilm and Dave's hearing that, then that's what season 4 should be. Because when you have a clear, consistent narrative, again, consistent narrative, show is so much better. And
Yep.
especially when it's about the Empire and what they're doing. That's when the show thrives, in my opinion.
Well,
So I'm looking forward to season 4 now. Now it's probably going to make me mad because it's going to be the premiere is going to be Sid. Now no, I'm out. Like, I'm done.
well, here's something to throw out there too, guys. Real quick. So an interesting thing, our friend Hannah from the Ray side, she pointed out this week, a lot of the really good episodes that we've enjoyed this year have been written by the same writer. Actually, if you guys didn't pick up on that, so that's why there's a consistency on a lot of those really good episodes.
Wow.
I didn't. Well, yeah, I didn't realize. I assume. Well, I assumed kind of like what Jon Favreau does with Mandalorian.
Yep.
Dave writes a majority of the episodes, with some of the people filling in. I mean, there's
Yep.
16 compared to 8. So if he
Yep.
can't write all 16, like, still though, like, that whoever that writer is, and I'll go and look.
Yep.
It's
It's
like we
geez.
need that person to obviously not be the showrunner, but be somewhat kind of like the Kevin Feige of, like, of the narrative. I guess the Pablo Hidalgo of the storytelling aspect of, like, keeping it consistent. Because again, like, those episodes, anything about the Empire, anything about the clones, it's good. Like, I've always been locked in, and I barely looked at my phone while watching those episodes because I was like, oh shit, I'm like, I didn't see that coming, or that's different.
Yep.
Yeah, if you guys want to chat for a little bit, we're having tech difficulties. I'm just trying to get people's frames in, and I have a hard time talking while I'm doing
No, I
it.
got you. Well, no, hey, listen, I get
I'm
it,
not
and
doing much talking
people
tonight
were a lot.
just because of this reason.
Jennifer Corbett. She was the one who wrote a lot of those really good episodes and was like one of the lead creatives
Right.
on several of the episodes. So, if we
Oh,
could get more of her doing a lot of these episodes, I would be all in for it. Like, because, her direction was really good, I believe.
right. No, and yes, if that's the case, then I'm all about it too. Just
Yep.
because, again, I would say episode. Did she write episode 3?
No, I
think
mean,
episode, or which one? Which
she
one
might
was?
have. Let me check.
Yeah,
Go on.
there
Go
was
on.
one. I know, like, the Palpatine episode where he shows up, the Chuchi stuff, the Crosshair stuff,
Yep.
anything with the clones potentially rebelling. Those are the best episodes, and obviously the last 3 were fire. One thing I take away from this finale is that, Star Wars, when they want to, knows how to pull in the audience and get us wanting more when they want to. I felt like throughout this season they weren't doing that. Although they'll put some isms in there where they'll say, "Oh yeah, here's something here, here's something there," but they weren't consistently doing it. And I feel like the last 3 episodes were consistently say, "Hey, we want more, we want more, we want more." Like, this felt like a true Star Wars, you know, narrative story, whatever being pushed. Like, it felt great. Like, I was very pleased with what I was watching.
Oh
I am
yeah.
hopeful, and now I'm hopeful that the reveal that we got with, the sister.
Yep.
I'm hoping to see how that plays out. Again, I kept saying it. This is about Palpatine. Hopefully, we get more Palpatine in Bad Batch. At least we don't got to see him in every episode. Just let's see him talk about his plans here or there. But yeah, I just want to see him a couple times. it's
I
cool to
think.
see where the show is going. Hopefully,
Oh yeah, I think a really cool idea that they could take from Andor, even surprisingly. You know how I feel about that show, but I think
huh?
what they should do with Palpatine is you could easily incorporate him into this stuff. We don't even have to go to Coruscant. Just give us a scene just like in Andor um when Cyril's eating breakfast with his mom watching the news. Give us a scene like on the news where the Bad Batch are like in a bar or in a public place and there's like a Palpatine public address on TV, like even just
Yeah,
something like that to like raise the
right.
stakes and raise like our characters' awareness and overall like view of Palpatine being around basically.
No,
Or like,
I agree with that.
him eliminating maybe him like announcing something to like turn in all the clones or whatever, and then it could raise the stakes for our main characters, like, with them being on the run or something.
I agree.
Um
Um, well, with that even being said, like I'll guess we'll get into some spoiler, I guess, with this episode as Chris is still working on
yeah,
the
that's fine.
technical part of things. Like the best part I like about this whole finale was I love the heist. I love that they were well, not the heist. I love that it was them trying to infiltrate not the mountain. What was it called? It was like that like P looking mountain that they were on.
Yeah, I can't
I
think of the name of
forget.
it.
It's
But
first of all,
Okay,
it's a dope.
okay. So that place is awesome because that place is called Iriadu, and Iriadu
okay,
Yeah,
is
that place.
Moff Tarkin's freaking home world,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
That's
down.
the, and that's and
huge.
that's what I was thinking because I remember hearing it before. Now that you said, I'm thinking, man, I've heard this planet, and I felt
Yes,
it was close to Tarkin. Which first of all, we got to see Tarkin. We got to see
yes,
Krennic.
Krennic,
I did not expect that.
dude. I know they were trying to plan his cameo in Rebels at some point. At least I heard they were, and the
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
fact that they
I did
put
not
it in
expect Krennic to
this.
be in it, but it makes sense though.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was subtle. It wasn't like it was over the top. And this is where, and I watched Hannah's video about she talked about Mandalorian about or not Mandalorian Bad Batch about how the cameos were used very good
yep.
this season. It's like she's right because Krennic, like he just made it subtle. He's like, what do you? No, he wasn't Director Krennic yet. Was he Commander or General Krennic?
Something.
He's like
Yeah,
General.
it was
He's like
something like that.
General Krennic. He's like, tell us about Project Stardust.
Yeah.
It was like, oh wait, we know what Stardust is. Great tie-in to Rogue One. So it's like, all right, like that's a great cameo. And he did speak for a little bit. At first, I thought it was the actual voice actor. I don't think it was the guy that played him in the live action version.
Mendelsohn. Ben Mendelsohn.
Uh, Chris, we can't hear you. You're muted.
It was Ben Mendelsohn. I can't believe that
Was it
he
was it actually
actually.
Ben Mendelsohn?
Yeah,
Was it him?
it
Oh,
was
I didn't.
him
I
in
guess I
the
didn't see that.
credits. Always look at the
I didn't.
credits.
No, I didn't think it was him because I tried to listen. I'm like, that's not him. No, but hey,
They brought
they
him
fooled
back
me.
for like
But
one line. I couldn't believe that Lucasfilm would do that. I was like, you couldn't have just
Unless
hired
yeah,
somebody?
unless they had spare lines from Rogue One.
Hmm.
exactly. But I love the cameos. I love that mountain that they were trying to infiltrate. I love the whole them riding the like light rail, whatever they call that rail,
Saw
and
Gerrera.
then
Yeah,
again
Saw
Saw Gerrera
Gerrera with the
popping up like
armor.
out of nowhere. Which again, now that one was kind of like, do we need Saw in it? Because he served his purpose. We could have used any rebel, but I guess it's like, well, Saw Gerrera and how things played out. It's but honestly, when I thought about it, I'm thinking, well, Saw Gerrera, he just has his own mission. He doesn't care about anyone else except for his mission. So he knows.
Yep.
So it made sense whenever they said, "Don't blow this. We need to get blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah." He's like, "I
Oh,
don't
it's
care. I'm
so
blowing it."
annoying.
And then
They're this close to
and then he
going to
blows it,
Mount Tannis.
and then obviously Tech happens to go, which makes sense to how Saul's mind is. He's like,
Yeah.
"Listen, people will die. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's part of war."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it makes sense now that I think about it. Like Saul Guerrero would be that linchpin to how Bad Batch will lose one of their own eventually.
Yeah, because we see, and I'll give my first impressions here. Sorry, everybody that was listening to audio. I was on the video end of things. Discord, full disclosure, we use Discord OBS window capture, and it keeps blanking out the videos for some reason. I don't know if it's a video card thing or what, but we're going with it. So yeah, my first impressions of the episodes were This is how you culminate a season. We've been kind of up and down on the season. We'll talk about our overall season thoughts because we might as well do that in this video too because we're not going to have an opportunity to do that for like 3 or 4 weeks. By that time, no one's going to really care anymore, or at least people aren't going to be talking about Bad Batch and want to listen to stuff as much because we'll be talking about Celebration news. So, but yeah, I think that this episode felt a lot like Star Wars Rebels, and even the last episode felt like Star Wars Rebels because it's like, oh, they're actually going against the Empire. There's all this Imperial iconic. I can never pronounce that word.
Icon.
Iconography, like the way the lights are in the walls, the way it's like stark on the bases, the stark gray colors, like the dull kind of metals, like all that kind of iconography is just all over this episode. And going into there and seeing what's happening with this Imperial Summit, like all the worst people of the Empire. Okay, what's your project you're working on? Oh, I'm just sacrificing clones to basically save the Empire, the Emperor after death. And what's your project? Oh, I'm creating this thing called the Death Star, which is gonna obliterate planets. Oh, what's your what's the other guy working on? You know, it's really cool to see like the infancy of the Empire and what they're working on and all that good stuff. But just the adventure itself and to I put this out on Twitter about the overall stakes of the show have really gone up because now we've lost a member of Bad Batch. Can you tell me any Star Wars animated series where they lost somebody this early on? I mean, yes, we lost Kanan Jarrus, but it was like the end of Star Wars Rebels when that happened. And this is happening in the second season and it feels like the dark times. Like this point, there shouldn't be much hope in the galaxy because we are right after Revenge of the Sith. We're not going to get that hope until Rogue One, essentially, or at least a little bit until Rebels. So to see that this show can really go places, and we've seen that a few times with some people committing suicide for the cause of the Empire, and now somebody sacrificing themselves in the namesake of Clone 99 who died on Camino. Like all this crazy stuff where it's pretty dark. This is literally the dark times, and we're seeing it before our own eyes. We're seeing things connect with Sid, why that was important. I just love it. And we'll talk more about it in Mandalorian. Mandalorian's doing the same exact thing this week as well with connections. And yeah, so I thought this was really, really good.
I do want to throw out there real quick, while you were talking and explaining that, Chris, actually, Milton, it kind of like goes a little bit against our like Saul Guerrera cameo thing, where it's like, you know, like you said, like I said, any you know, those are the type of situations where it's like that could be any rebel extremist. Like, why does it have to be Saul? But it makes sense actually now that Chris like talked through that more and I thought about it more. Like, it makes sense Saul would be there because all the high Imperials are there, you know. So like that actually plays better because sometimes when we get cameo, I mean, luckily Star Wars lately in general, I think the last, I mean, few years really they've been pretty good on cameos. Like the cameos have made sense. Like so I think that's a very good cameo. I mean, I think just to throw out there for our listeners real quick, an example of a bad cameo in my opinion is Anakin should not have built C-3PO. I think that's a very bad connection. Like, I think that's a bad connection, bad cameo. I'm not a fan of that because, like, it's like, that's a little on the nose. But this is like a perfect cameo, actually, because it makes sense. Like, Saul would want to take out all the heads of the Empire, basically, because if he would have succeeded, I mean, it could have potentially, like, crippled the Empire, like, losing all of their top guys.
Yeah, it's very interesting in that whole sequence. You didn't know what way it was going to go. Maybe they could have found Tantus, but we don't know that information. So it's even more frustrating for the viewer in that moment to be like, "Oh my gosh, this other rebel patriot is going to completely screw over the plan because of his brazenness to just go head on with the Empire right now." It's like, no, dude, no. He could have fixed everything, and
Right.
this is what happens. This is why Mon Mothma hates Saw Gerrera for these reasons.
No, I mean, like I said, he is, you know, and we want to speak of consistency. They did a good job at making that character consistent in this particular episode, and overall, like from live action to animation. I think they've done a really good job at showing me continuously insane mind of Saul, and as he continues to just like say, "Hey, hell with this. I'm just doing what's best for my people, myself, my agenda, and for the rebellion." Because I mean, we all know he's trying to do the right thing, stopping the Empire. It's how he's going about it. That's not always the best.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So getting back to Ord Mantell, and we see what's happening with Sid. What was your reaction? We kind of called this. I was hearing you guys talk
We
over.
did. We called it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's trash. Like it's trash.
I
Yep.
wonder
I
if
mean,
we'll
it's
ever see her again. You know, if they'll
See,
ever
I'm
dress
s-
like that, or maybe not. Maybe we'll never see her again.
dude,
see
just kill her. Like honestly, just kill her. Like listen, just kill her. Like I
see
legit said that to myself. I'm like, just kill Sid off. No one cares about her. If I'm Hunter, I'm cutting her head off, dude. It's over.
yep.
You
See
you cause us to lose.
See,
Yep.
this is the thing I'm scared about, guys. I don't know about you. I don't want to say it because it's hard to like put this out there into the ether because then I could see it happening. But couldn't we see the start of this coming season, the crew going, "We need information. We have nobody. We got to go back to Sid." And then Sid's like, "I'll give you information if you do this." And it's like, here we are. We going to get into the same spiral? That's what I'm terrified about because it's like, please don't go in that direction. I'm begging you, Bad Batch, because like I could see the show going in that direction because how else are they going to get info? And Rex, they're not with Rex, so it's just like I don't know. It gets me a little bit anxious to say the least going into next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as far as what you think will, let's think about the reaction of what's going on with the sister now. We got this character that is claiming she is the sister of Omega. What do we think is going
I
on
mean,
here?
like I don't know. I mean, it's if it pays off, then I'm cool with it. But I feel like I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Just because it was like, like if why do you need Omega then?
Yeah.
Like if that's your now I don't know if that other doctor knows because I feel like this doctor, the sister doctor, she keeps telling Crosshair just cooperate. If you do, it won't be painful. Blah blah blah. So maybe there's like a hidden agenda, and maybe they're trying to throw us off by how she's acting.
Hmm.
Personally, I don't I didn't care. Like I was like, oh okay, that's her sister. All right, but then it's like, why do you need Omega then? No,
Yep.
if she's a clone too. So again, I don't know. They're smarter
But I
people than
think maybe
me.
that's part of the mystery. Maybe they're holding back information. Maybe she is some kind of force sensitive clone that we haven't seen. Well, we haven't really seen much of any of that. But like, you're
I'll say,
right.
nah,
That
I don't buy
makes.
that.
But it's like, why? What makes her unique? Then there's something about it.
That's what I'm saying. Like if she's now because she didn't even whisper it. She's like, oh, I'm your sister. Whatever. Now again, I don't know if these rooms are recorded. They're being videotaped. So I assume this other doctor would have to know that someone's watching him, especially if this is a high value target. Think about it. Meg is a high value target, so the Empire's gonna be watching her. So why would you say that information knowing that she's being watched? Again, I assume that the Empire already knows that this other doctor's a clone. So
Yeah, I think. See, it's such a tough one. Like for me, like my initial reaction to that scene, I was just like, "Oh, okay." Like I didn't think it was a bad ending to the season. I just was like, "Oh, that's an interesting way to end the season." Okay, I just
exactly, that's exactly what I
like
said. I'm like, oh, that's
it's like
interesting.
yeah, I was just like, it wasn't like a whoa, like Darth Vader, I'm your father. It was like, okay, that's cool. Um, but like for me with her, I think there's a couple options. You have one, the reason she's so much older, she's just like an accelerated clone, like a clone trooper would be. So she's like aging
Mm-hmm.
faster.
Yep.
And then my other like idea on it is I think maybe what they're going for is they want to be able to clone and keep. So, I mean, we're all working with the premise. I mean, I'm not sure about you guys, but I feel like a lot of people are working with the premise. this is all for Snoke / Palpatine so Palpatine can like basically live forever or whatever. So like basically my thing with this is I think they're trying to figure out Omega because they want to crack the code of the whole just cutting off the de-aging thing. Like just like basically kind of how like Boba Fett is like aged normally. Like I think that's what they're working toward. Like maybe it's that so like they could create a clone for Palpatine that would be normally aging, so then they would always have that thing to like basically keep using. I think that's the direction they're heading with it, because if not, I don't know what else they would be using Omega for, because I don't know if we've really seen any signs or symptoms that she's force sensitive just yet anyways. So I don't think it'll go in that direction. And then it's just one thing also that popped into my mind. I don't know, I'm not sure about you guys, but like when they said the whole "I'm your sister" thing, I was like, man, they like dropped the Boba Fett brother storyline really quickly.
I was about
like,
to say, well,
like
Boba right there. About to say, well, Boba, like he's just as special as Omega, so it's like he wasn't genetically altered to age accelerated.
But I guess the Empire wouldn't know that. I mean, potentially.
Right. Well, they should, because
Django.
Django. I mean, like Boba was tight with the Kaminoans too.
Oh yeah, that's
so
true.
Like
they
he
did
was
know him.
raised
Yeah,
there. They did know him.
That's
So it's
tough.
like, so Nala Su should have known, like, oh, Boba's out there. So because at this point, Boba Fett would only be in his early 30s? No,
20s.
Be in his 20s.
He'd be like
So,
maybe.
like,
I mean, think about it. In Clone Wars, he was only still kind of a kid, so this is only a few years
Clone
after.
Wars.
He'd be like 20 years old, probably. He'd probably be in like his early bounty hunter years.
Yes. So it's like, I don't know.
Then again,
it's weird.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. But then again, maybe at this point, like the Empire's probably like, hey, I don't know, we can't go after like the galaxy's like top bounty hunter or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's kind of like that built-in like in-universe thing. Like, would Boba really turn himself in to like help them out?
No.
Like, I don't know. It's tricky.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
Oh, go on, Chris. Sorry, I thought you cut out for a second. I was like, oh.
No, I did kind of cut out for a second.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, this is the show here. I know. I like the music. The music was great.
Yep.
Yeah, the music was well done. This was a really good score. Is this Kevin Kiner who does the music still?
Yeah.
Yeah, fire. Like, I mean, Kevin Kiner kills it. Like, I mean, it's a given. The visual, dude. I tell you what, man. I know this is animation. God damn, like the visuals look good. Like in these last 3 episodes, they've killed it on the visuals, like without question. It's like why we need, if they're gonna do a Luke series animation style, put it like this, because I'll be fine with it because it looks so good.
You're right. They're the best in the business.
Give me a 3 to 4 season Luke series animated. If this Clone Wars style of animation, if you want to upgrade it some more, I'm all about it. Dude, it looks amazing. Like, it looks so good. And even like the violence. Can we talk about the violence of these last 2 episodes? I'll go even 3. The violence out these last 3 episodes have been significantly, increased. And I love how this show, remember how Clone Wars the first couple seasons was very like kid violence and how they killed people, and I put it this way: those viewers at the time who were kids who started, show aged with those viewers.
Yep.
I think this show in particular, especially the last couple seasons, done a really good job at continuously aging with the viewership, because I think they understand, like, guys who are in their 20s or early 30s, even mid 30s, to say, hey, they watched Clone Wars 10 years, 12 years ago, so the violence to them should be upped. So I love it. I love how it's still there. It's not graphic, but it's graphic enough to say, oh damn, I didn't expect them to just get shot in the face, or like just how they executed it. So it looked good.
It's interesting because like certain shots they were using like regular blaster file, but other shots they were using stun
Yes.
blast. I was like, huh? It's kind
Yeah.
of
Like, I mean, people get shot in the chest, you see the holes.
yeah.
It's like damn, like, or I
Uh-huh.
remember one of the Clone Wars episodes when Anakin, remember when they were with Satine when they first met her, Anakin stabbed the guy in
Yeah.
the chest with the saber, and I'm like, whoa, that was like season 3, I
Oh yeah,
think.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Clone Wars went far on some of that stuff, and like this show's taken that cue of kind of like getting a little more violent and stuff, and where it should be appropriately, it should be being a little, it should be a little more violent when you're around the Empire. Like it shouldn't be
yes,
just stun bolts and everything.
and I think that's a good point. I didn't think of it that way. The Empire would be more violent because
yeah. Mhm.
they're going to have to kill them when they engage them.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, so what I think we'll do is we'll give our scores for the finale, and we'll talk like for 10 minutes about or whatever about the season as a whole, and we'll give that a
Yeah.
score as well. So I'll kick this one off. I'll just say, hey, you guys really hit the nail on the head. I think we're all in agreement. This was a great episode and a great way to end the season, bringing all these different storylines together. We were really frustrated by the Sid storyline. That paid off. We were kind of like, okay, what's happening with the clones over here? What's happening with just everything with Mount Tantus? We got a good resolution on that, but that's still out there. The whole thing with Omega, they were teasing that about her getting captured. She ends up getting captured. This is a very dark episode. This is like the Empire Strikes Back of Star Wars animation. You got somebody getting killed, somebody getting captured, big revelations. It basically is Empire now that I'm talking about it. So yeah, I got to give this one. I think I got to give this a 9 out of 10, guys. Honestly, I enjoyed this finale more than season 1 finale. I
Mm.
Oh
think I
yeah.
have to say. I mean, there was really cool moments with the Camino destruction, but that episode ended off, and I was just like, oh, like you guys were saying, this episode left me wanting more from season 3, more so than I wanting season 2 after season 1. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. What
Right.
about you, Ben?
For me, I can echo a lot of the same thoughts. Like I mentioned prior, when it comes to, well, actually for starters, I'll mention this episode. This episode was really really good. Like it was a really nice way to end the show to get us excited for the next season. I guess, I mean, maybe for not us like hardcore Star Wars fans, but maybe like just say more of the casual Bad Batch viewers, the sister reveal at the end probably was like, oh whoa, like a little bit more exciting for like more casual people. So I guess I could see it working there. But yeah, setting that little reveal at the end aside, like I think the overall episode was really good. So for me, the show has to be a 9 out of 10. I mean the finale has to be a 9 out of 10, and then like you said, Chris, we'll get into more of our season thoughts.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Milton?
Wow, this might be a first for us. I think I might have the highest score here
Oh,
when it comes to comparing. I think this is at least a 9.5.
whoa, nice.
No, I mean, and I could probably go higher. Just I thought the sister thing was kind of how they revealed it was kind of weak. Because especially, and I'll say it this way: if they would have planted some seeds about that doctor, say 5 episodes ago, about potentially her importance and what her role could be, it could have paid off better at the end. Just because we didn't really know who she is, it's like in professional wrestling. You want to get over a good guy or a baby face, but if you don't build that character up, he's not getting over with the fans. So it's, to me, that was kind of weird to me how they tried to do it. It was like, oh, sister. So that kind of was weak for me. Other than that, though, I felt these 2 episodes to me were very perfect in what they were structuring. Like, you know me, guys. I'm very like, nah, most shit ain't perfect to me. Like, I'm going to question it. God Almighty, I legit was invested. That's the
Wow.
word I've been wanting to use tonight. Is
Yep.
invested. These last 3 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
I've been invested. It's like, oh my God, if we would have been like this all season, I'd have been singing the praises, because you know how much I love the animation of Star Wars. They do a
Yep.
consistent good job for the most part. But I feel like with Bad Batch, in particular this season, it's like you have so much potential, and it's like you wasted with the stupid Sid crap. Get that out of here. This is a really good season without the Sid stuff or without the unnecessary missions. So other than that, 9.5. Love this episode. Looking forward to season 4. Hopefully, we get a good payoff in season 4.
You mean season 3?
Season 3, Milton.
Or God, season 3. I'm thinking Mandalorian.
You were
Jesus,
saying
season
season 4
3.
before. I'm like,
Man,
yeah, maybe
we're,
we'll
we're,
announce
we're already
season
going.
3 and
We're already
4
going to
Celebration.
season 4 of Bad
Yeah.
Batch.
Hopefully, get a payoff with season 3 of Mando was what they set up
Yeah.
at the end of season 2. So thank
So,
you.
yeah, we got
Again, people, my
9.5.
head's messed
Yep.
up because I'm a little sick too. So
It's all good. But speaking of which, let's at least take some time talking about the season as a whole. Now we can look back, really grade it accordingly now that we can see in hindsight. So yeah, there was lots of ups and downs. Even the premiere didn't excite me. I think I gave the premiere like a 7 out of 10. It was just like, okay, here's the clones. Here's what they're doing. They're on a tropical planet. They're doing this. And that's about it. That's the adventure. And then we got a lot of these racing episodes or treasure hunting episodes. And
yeah,
I mean, you put it in perspective, right? You have Mandalorian, which is 8 episodes. You have Bad Batch, which is double for 16. So there is going to be, I guess, some dead space here and there. Not that they need to. It's not, synchronized
right.
cable anymore. They don't have to do 16 episodes. No one's making them do
But
16
here's the
episodes.
difference though with that, Chris.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. Here's the difference with that. It's not live action, so they have a lot more time to flesh out these stories, like writing them out wise.
Yeah.
Like live action, you got to shoot them differently, scheduling's differently. Voiceover acting, you shoot them like a year in advance. You can make the adjustments probably more quicker. And again, I'm not a director. I've never made anything that nature. But it's like 16 episodes in animation can be done clear and concise. Like honestly, people are gonna laugh when I say this, but I've been watching when I get the chance. I've been watching Beware the Batman on HBO Max, that animated show, and that's only one season. That's like 26 episodes. The majority of those episodes are a clear, consistent story, and that's animation, and it's 26 episodes.
Oh.
So with 16 for Bad Batch, you can make it. You give us at least 12 clear narrative episodes, we wouldn't have an issue. 4 can be filler. That's fine.
Yeah.
Three-fourths of the show needs to be consistent.
I mean that happened with Rebels under Filoni. Like we would have about 75% of the episodes were really good. Like say I don't remember if there was like 18 episodes in some of the
season 1 of Rebels. But season 1 of Rebels was from episode 1, from what I remember, through I think it was like 12 episodes. Season 1 it might have been.
Yep.
Was consistently on fire. I loved season 2.
Yep.
Was so good.
I think it was in the 3rd season. There was like 2 or 3 episodes where it was like, whoa, this is a little weird. Like the whole like puffer pig thing with Lando and all that stuff. Like you had some of those throwaway like weird episodes, and then but for the most part, like that show, like if they could hit that like 75-80% mark, we would be sitting on an excellent show, in my opinion, a very excellent show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
because we've seen the highs on this show so far, and the highs are really high.
Oh yeah, I've said before that there's some of the best Star Wars animated episodes with that mid-season finale with the clones, with this previous episode with the Crosshair. Every episode with Crosshair is just awesome usually, and
Cody,
Cody and all that. Yeah, it's just they want to have those fun adventure episodes. The Day in the Sun, Omega and Pabu, and we've seen that Pabu played a role where they were that's their base that they were gonna try to be at if they didn't have to be soldiers anymore,
right.
and all this sort of thing. But
which that was looking back on it, and I might have liked that episode. I can't remember, but that was a necessary episode because they're trying to set up what life could be. And you want the audience to feel for what these clones are going through and say, oh my God, there's potential light at the end of the tunnel, which ties into them losing tech, which is perfect because now they're saying, well, we can't live the way we want. Because remember how they tried to set it up? They went to Omega. Hunter said, we're thinking about actually settling down at Pabu or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Is that something you want to do? She was like, well, yeah, sure. And this is after losing tech. Then all of a sudden, Sid turns on him, and it's like, oh, that's out the window now because now they're going to have to exact their revenge on Sid. Now you're thinking, oh my God, they just lost their light at the end of the tunnel because they're going to be absorbed by revenge and trauma. And it's like that's a good way to set up the audience to think, oh my God, they're losing something that was so close.
Yeah.
Even through tragedy, they were still thinking about that until Sid put the icing on the cake by turning them in, and then they're losing Omega. He's like, we're going after her. We're not stopping until we get her back.
Well,
That's a really good point.
I'll throw out there too, guys. Like when we were in that scene before Sid, like before the Empire showed up, I actually thought to myself, I was like, wait, I like paused the show. I was like, wait, what's up? What else is going to happen in this episode? Because I was like, we have a lot of time left. Like, there's no way they're going to just end it here and they go to Pabu and just chill on the beach
They
for
could have
the
tied
next.
it off. At one point, I was like, maybe the show ends now.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was scared of. I was like, dude, we cannot end the series like this or end the season like this. But I'm glad they didn't. But yeah, like we've been talking about, I just feel like this show, we had so many, like, we had so many lows, and then there were so many highs as well. Like even in last season, in season 1, there were I mean, that was kind of like the vibe from a lot of that in season 1. It was like we had a lot of highs and a lot of like really lows. So like this year, it's just, at least I feel like the highs are getting better. And then yeah, I just really enjoyed the really good episodes. And at least, there were some like payoffs to some of the little things, even in the bad episodes, like the racing one with that guy that we all agreed, the villain who sounded like, the voice actor was really good for that dude, but the guy that gave the warning about Sid, like at least that paid off eventually, so that was good. And yeah, I just thought the season overall as a whole, I think for me, the highs in this season were better than season 1. So for me, I think this season's a bit of a step up than season 1.
Yeah, I agree. There are a lot of good moments. I feel like season 1 was more consistent as a season with
Yep.
I'm about to
giving
say
me
yes. I
storylines
agree with that.
tied up. But, and I always say, like, okay, it's great to have these like little character-based episodes that we got in season 2 because they're fleshing out the characters so we care more. Like there was Tech episodes in there because he died. Like they were trying to get us to care about Tech before he passed away. And then that way we're like, oh, it really hurts now. But I feel like they could have taken that stuff further. I feel like they should have still made those character-based episodes better in a way where they were more impactful, because some of those episodes, like they ended and I was just like, I didn't really feel much. Like it didn't really hit me. I know there is character development, but it wasn't a strong enough like individual story to get me to like want to watch it again, where I feel like they could have done a better job that way.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they tried. I think they tried to, especially with Tech. Because think about it though, looking back on it, the scene remember when Omega gets mad at him about how he's acting about Echo leaving.
Yep.
I think that was an opportunity. I think the
Mhm.
racing was. I think they were doing it early. Now to think about it, the racing episode, Omega Tech episode, and obviously the conversations that they were having between Tech and that girl, Wanda Sykes' character, I forget her name,
Fee.
like always, and how she kept flirting with him.
Yep.
So throughout the show, they were putting those seeds at it. We just weren't seeing them, and they should have made it more obvious.
Oh yeah.
I think his death did pay off because we had that relationship with him since the last season of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
However, it could have been more impactful if they would have made it more obvious what they were trying to do.
Well, I think the thing with that though, Milton, is like, so the episodes that were more tech focused, for example, like the racing episode, instead of making it a racing episode altogether, just scrap that entire episode completely and give us an episode related to the Empire and still have it tech focused, where Tech's having to do stuff, Tech's having to help Omega, Tech's having to like I think if they would do something like that, it would make the episodes more impactful than just, hey, this is a throwaway Tech like racing episode. Like for example, in Clone Wars. Clone Wars has so many good examples of like good character episodes that foreshadow things, but they're still like good episodes. Like for me, one of the ones that I think that I always call back to with like foreshadowing Anakin turning to the dark side is the whole scene, the whole episode where, even though it's just a complete little side mission, it's with him and Padme and with that other senator that Anakin gets jealous with, and he literally, beats him up and was gonna pretty much kill him. It seemed like, and you even hear the Imperial theme. Like you hear this quiet beats of it, like they put the beats of that in there. Even though that's a throwaway episode, it foreshadows like Anakin turning to the dark side. Like this Tech episode though, like the Tech racing one, it really just was Tech just doing his thing versus like foreshadowing much of anything
Right.
for his character specifically.
Yeah, yeah. So if I were giving Bad Batch season 2 a score out of 10, I say I would give it a good 7.5. It would have been much higher if those episodes that we thought were a little bit kind of unnecessary. That turned out decent enough for the characters. I feel like they just needed a stronger approach for singular episodes, a little bit more oomph to them, kind of. So yeah, what about you, Ben?
Yeah, for me, I can agree with you completely there. I think the highs were really good and the lows were not great. So for me, I just think that drew down a lot of my score for this season. I think it had a lot more potential. It at least did its job in exciting me for the next season. I'm very excited for season 3 versus like, season 1 into season 2. I was like, man, I'm not excited whatsoever. But now I'm actually excited. I'm excited for it because I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we'll obviously probably get a trailer for it at Celebration next week, and then I think there's a good chance we get Bad Batch season 3 next year. So there's that as well. So for me, overall, I'm excited for the next season, and I think the season was a bit of a step up from season 1. So I have to agree with you, Chris. I think 7.5 is a good, solid score for this show, considering the lows that we had. I think 7.5 is a really fair score.
So I think you're muted.
And Milton?
I'd probably go 7. I think 7 because I know I gave some pretty low scores for some of those mid episodes. I would probably say 7. I think season 1 was more consistent, and we did say in season 1 how it was very roller coastery at time, but it wasn't to the point where it was like season 2. I would say I think 7's a fair score because it wasn't it's the good episodes made up for it. So I was like, okay, you're lucky you had what you had in there. If the last 3 episodes are garbage, this probably would have been like 4.5 or a 5.
Well, Milton, I remember before we got to the middle finale with like the clones and Palpatine and all that stuff. I remember you were saying you literally said on here, you were like, if we have like 2 more episodes of these low episodes, I'm done on the show completely.
Yeah.
And now, and it got you back on board at least.
Yeah, because they got me invested the last 3, and even before that, like the island stuff. The island stuff was intriguing for what it was, and I think they were just trying to say, hey, this is what life could be, and let's get the audience thinking there's light at the end of the tunnel when there really wasn't. So fine, that's how you build up a good, solid. That's good storytelling in the sense of like doing that. Now, did it help the narrative of what the Empire's doing? No, but for what the audience needed to see, I guess it was fine.
Yep. So there you go. That's our thoughts on Bad Batch season 2, episodes 15, 16, and the season as a whole. So drop your comments on your scores in the comment section down below. And you can always interact with us online at our Twitter handles to get the discussion to continue. But we are continuing the discussion here, but on a different show in the Star Wars universe, and that is The Mandalorian. Season 3, Episode 5, Chapter 21, titled The Pirate, in which we have Pirate King Gorian Shard infiltrates Navarro and destroys most of it, and that's when Grief Karga has to incite the help, unfortunately to him, of the New Republic, who aren't much use for them. And then we have this character, Carson Teva, who goes and incites the help of the Mandalorians, who go and claim their once defiled home. And in doing so, we get a really cool cameo from a little Star Wars animated show that we all love a lot here on the podcast. So getting into it, what was your first reaction or your first impression to this episode, Milton?
I love the action. like the Mandos are badass.
Yeah.
I see it every week when we get an action piece. This is really a streaming budget because I don't believe it. Because like the way they do those Halo jumps looks so good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, it's like Obi-Wan, you should have been using this money to make it look this good. Um, yeah, I love the action. Action was dope. I love everything Bo-Katan is. Every time I see Bo-Katan on the screen, whether it's with the helmet on or off, I can't take my eyes off the screen because she's so hot. Like I would wife up Bo-Katan if I could. Just saying.
Milton, when you were
She's
saying that, I thought wife.
dude, she's so hot, bro. I love the Mandalorian like culture. Now, is it obsessive at times? Absolutely. Can it be ridiculous? I'm sure it can be. But I love how they're playing it out this season. Now, is it dragging at times? Yeah, it is at times.
Hmm.
This is where I will get negative. I
Hmm.
think with 5 episodes in,
Yep.
I love how we're now acknowledging like they're gonna retake Mandalore. We have to now bring Mandalore or Mandalorians together. This could have been pushed sooner. Like this 5 episodes. There's only 8 episodes in this season, and some of the fat could have been trimmed out.
Yep.
But other than that, though, like I like this episode. And now, Bad Batch was the superior episode
Hmm.
again in 2 straight weeks in a
I
row.
know. I keep saying
Like,
that.
yeah, in my opinion, I think Bad Batch has been really good the last 2 weeks compared
Yeah.
to Mando. I'm not saying
Yep.
Mando's trash. Yeah, it's not. But Bad Batch, Mando's here. Just for these last
Hmm.
couple weeks. Yeah, I liked the episode. It wasn't bad at all. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the history that's being displayed in the sense of what the Mandalorians are, where we
Hmm.
could see them. I love that they're talking about retaking Mandalore and the Moff Gideon stuff. I would say that's probably dragging the show right now. It's like, what the hell's going on with this guy?
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yeah. As far as what I thought about the episode, I thought it was a great episode to bring a lot of things together, bring a lot of storylines. A lot of us have been scratching our head in the first place, like why are we going to Coruscant with Elia Kane? Why is she important to anything Mandarin's doing? Well, now she's interacting with Carson Teva. Remember that guy? That was the guy that tried to pull over Mando in his Razor Crest. So it's cool getting like that long running kind of plot line kind of intersecting back. Navarro, why the hell did we go to Navarro in that first episode? Well, it's because of this. Now we're getting that kind of ramifications there. Stuff with Bo-Katan, like all these storylines, the melding of two Mandalorian clans, or multiple at this point, like ideologies, differences, the philosophy between New Republic and ex-Imperials and how they have to work together and how that animosity obviously is still there even like 5-6 years later. There's so many great little things I can't wait to dive in on this episode because uh, I agree with Milton. Like the season so far has not been the greatest. This is probably the weakest out of all three, in my opinion.
mhm.
Um, and there we'll get into that probably as well. But I mean, the action has always been great. There's no problem there. I just feel like sometimes the story's missing a little bit for me, and sometimes the
Yeah,
writing is like atrocious. If you ask me, I feel like the dialogue is just so wooden sometimes from these actors, and it's unfortunate because Jon Favreau is like doing every episode. Like I feel he needs a co-writer sometimes, somebody to check the draft. I feel like he's handing in the first draft, and they're just okay, let's do it. Like no, maybe you should get a couple more people to check your draft here because sometimes I'm just like, really, like Star Wars needs to be better than this. Honestly, I feel like, and of course it's Andor, right? Like I watch Andor, I'm like, I hate to compare it, but I can't say I can't compare it anymore. Like it's sometimes a night and day difference between performances and the writing, and I know they're two separate like genres and stuff, but still, just as a series, Mando sometimes needs to be a little bit better than it is. I still really like this episode, but it's just a bone that I've been kind of made to pick because it's just okay. Maybe Jon Favreau needs a little bit of help with writing sometimes. He does great with building stories and building like world building
yeah.
like George Lucas. But even George Lucas fell into the trap of controlling everything to the point where he's writing these scripts and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not even good at doing this." It's like, then why didn't you get help? Like some of the prequel stuff is the same thing with this. I feel like sometimes. Anyway, I
I'm gonna
guess I'm
say
going on a bit of
he's
a
no, no,
rant.
you're not wrong, and that's the thing. And it's not like here's what's funny is though, it's not like he doesn't have the people there to help him write this stuff. He's got some of the best directors in the business right there that can help him write some of this stuff. I mean, it's Lucasfilm. You can hire any writer on the planet to come help you co-write something. So, right, like I think sometimes you are your worst enemy. We've all heard that phrase. And first, we've been fortunate enough to have 3 really good seasons of Mando. This one, I would say, probably has been the weakest season thus far, and that's not a negative.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just compared to the other material,
yeah,
this has been the weakest season.
yep.
And I think you're right. I think some of the narrative has been dragging due to the writing and how
Well,
people are just
let
being
let me
asked to
tell
portray
you.
certain characters.
All right,
So
let me tell you the most egregious one, right? Okay, so buckle up. So we have Carson Teva who's traveling around a galaxy. First off, he goes to the base, and we'll talk about the cameo. I could talk about that for a while, but we'll get there. Then he goes to Coruscant, and has this cool back and forth with Lia Kane and this requisitions officer of the New Republic. Then he goes and he somehow magically realizes that, oh, R5 is on this planet and I could track R5. When the hell did he find R5? Like, how does he even know that R5's alive or functioning for a droid? Because the last we seen him, he blew a motivator over there on Tatooine, and then it's like,
right.
now we're learning this season he was part of the rebellion, but how does he even know he's there? Like, that's what I mean. Like, some stuff like that I know sometimes with Star Wars, you just gotta kind of leave your brain behind sometimes. But still, I mean, come on. Like, some of that stuff is just a little bit too much for me. So, like, that
Right.
was the one
It's
big
it's
thing where I
too
was like,
convenient. Yeah,
what?
it's
How
it's too
convenient. You
convenient,
got the
Chris.
droid right there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what you were trying to say. It's too convenient.
Yeah.
It's too perfect. It's kind of like how I feel about Rey. She's way overpowered in the sequel trilogy. Just saying. You know what I'm saying?
That's man.
Why don't we have you chime in, Ben? I know I've been taking a show for a few minutes here, but
Oh no,
let's hear about
you're
your first impression.
yeah, you're good, guys. No, I was enjoying your back and forth as much as the audience or our listeners. Yeah, for me, I loved the episode. I thought it was really good. I think in regards to this season, like as a whole, I think it is the weakest as a whole, of course. I do think the Dr. Pershing episode of this season is better than any. It's the best Andor episode of Andor. I'll just say that. But
Yeah.
I'll just throw
That's
that. I'll just throw
bad.
that. I'll just throw that out there. I'll just throw that out there. That's better than any Andor episode. But anyways,
Okay.
but anyways, when it comes to this season, I think the big point, it's not even me like just being like Mando being my favorite Star Wars show. It's I think this season a lot of us went into it with the idea that it was going to be like Empire versus like Mando, Mando, and whatever else is going on. But I really think their idea for this season is this whole retaking Mandalore thing, like retaking Mandalore, the Mandalorians reuniting, etc. Like, I mean, I was kind of going into this season roughly thinking we were going to get a lot of Mandalorians. I was thinking the Den with the waters thing was going to be stretched out through the whole season. So I was going into it in my head anyways. I was thinking we were going to be getting a lot of this sort of stuff, but now we're getting it in kind of a different way with the Mandalorian. So for me, this season's been working fine because it's like, hey, I'm just seeing like a different path they're taking down, covering the Mandalore stuff, because I was kind of expecting it. I was expecting like a lot of the Mandalorian stuff to be more of the 1A versus the 1B or 1C slot to the Empire stuff. So I'm not having an issue with it. I do think that I think a lot of this season though has to do, all the Bo-Katan stuff. It's all excellent. I think a lot of it has to do though. They incorporated a lot of it for a lot of the general audience people. I really, really, truly believe that, because it's like, if they're going to build her up to be this big character to reunite Mandalore, they have to do it under the assumption that the audience hasn't watched the animated shows. So how could you jump her from season 2 barely doing anything, or like her just, couple little episodes here and there in season 2, obviously her one feature one, but her appearances in season 2 to being the leader of Mandalore without building out her character. So I really think on paper anyways, I think the quote unquote Mandalorian in season 1 was Din, quote unquote Mandalorian in season 2 was potentially Grogu, and I think the Mandalorian this season is Bo-Katan. Like I think it's kind of like a moving title, and I really think this season is going to be culminating with Bo-Katan. Like that's going to be more of the main focus than Din Djarin and even Grogu. I mean, look, we barely got any Grogu in this episode, so
Right.
so it just I think that's where they're going with it. To me, though, they should have conveyed it better in like I think if you're gonna go this route, for me anyways, this should have been the 3rd episode, not the 5th episode. I do believe that. I think you slash down either the Pershing episode or you like somehow reorganize it a little bit and mash that one and the next episode together, and then you move this back maybe and make this the 4th episode or the 3rd. Like, I think this episode should have just been a bit earlier in the season to kick off more of the Mandalorian story. So I think that's a big part of it. And then like just overall with this episode, I think the action was really good. Of course the action was really good. It always is. I like all the character moments with the Mandalorians, with Bo, with the armor. I don't know about you guys, but man, I was like on edge. I was like, what is the armor doing when she was making her take her helmet off? I was like, are you just basically trying to like frame her? Like, I don't know, just do something? Because, I still haven't got a good read on the armor, whether she has pure intentions or not. So
Right.
it's definitely an interesting thing, but I really do believe, I think that's the big point. Like a lot of us went into this season thinking it could be potentially Gideon and the Empire, but I really think this season, their angle is the Mandalorian culture is in my interpretation of it. Because if you look at all the episodes so far, it hasn't been Empire, it's been Mandalorians.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool thing to talk about, or a thing to set up with, like, hey, the Mandalorian is a generic term. It's not specific. It could be literally anybody. But I think that's part of the charm of season 1 and 2 is a really good adventure that we know the importance of, where it's like, okay, we have this cute little alien that has a force, and we have to rescue it. Then we have to bring it somewhere in season 2.
Yep.
And that wrapped up like so nice with the end of season 2 and the Book of Boba Fett kind of extended it. So it's like, I just don't think any of us are as excited with the current story. It just comes down to that, but it's like not our fault because they're not making it as exciting. Because, for instance, they could have done so much more to build up Mandalore at this point. Like, why is Mandalore important? We don't really even get to, like, they could do so much more. Like the last episode with like the creature episode with the darn bird and stuff, and like they had so many moments where like they could have been at the campfire, like embellishing like the history of Mandalore or why it's important to them, explain their culture and stuff, and there's like none of that. I'm like, who cares?
See,
Chris, I agree with that. I agree with that point, because here's the thing. We all know here's a perfect way to tie in the Clone Wars into the show. We know obviously Satine, which is Bo's sister, and like you could easily do flashbacks with Bo-Katan about her time of when she fought against when she was on Death Watch, or no? Was she with Death Watch, for what I remember?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So you can do flashbacks of Death Watch of when she was fighting against Obi-Wan. You got Ewan McGregor still around. Against Anakin Skywalker, you got Hayden. You can bring those guys in to shoot some flashback scenes of her journey currently, how it's going with what she was in the past, and how like it's conflict of her, and like how she's getting this trauma, and how she lost her sister, and how she lost her home planet. Like, oh my God, Chris is making such a good point. If you want to build that up and build that character's up storyline up, do the flashback version of it. You have all the actors that can do the scenes in live action form.
Well, see, that's the thing where I think they're weak on. I think there's, they're trying to take the fine line of like going between like the general audience and the hardcore fans. So like, they're trying to like in the present day, they're literally trying to build, in my opinion, like I mentioned in my opening monologue, they're trying to build Bo-Katan's character up and up and up to be the big ruler of Mandalore by the end of the year. They're trying to do that for the general audience, but also in the same breath, they're expecting the general audience to know the history of these characters, of the Mandalorians, like you mentioned, Milton, with the Clone Wars stuff. So it's like, what are we doing here? Are we are we gonna like I don't know, they're just trying to juggle too much, I really think, because it's like, are you trying to build up to me it's totally fine. If you want to build up Bo-Katan's character in the present day, that's fine if you want to do that, because the general audience, mom and pop, never have seen Clone Wars in their life. So, it's fine if you want to build Bo-Katan that way, but if you're going to do it that way, you need to include more of that historical stuff, just a little bit more, like maybe like 5 to 10 minutes more dialogue talking about that stuff. That's where that stuff comes into play, because like it seems like they're juggling between the general audience and the hardcore audience, and it's like what do we want, like, or what are we doing, like episode to episode? It's like, are we going from the general audience, the hardcore general audience, hardcore? And I do think another weak point, not even really, I mean, in this episode specifically, because like I mentioned, we haven't seen him much, but I think, I've always been a person to joke about like the Grogu stuff, like, oh, hey, more Grogu, the better, whatever, that sort of thing. But I do think this season is lacking like Grogu cute just moments that we've gotten in the past with them from season 1 and season 2. Like, sure, I've seen other people say like, oh, hey, like, we don't need like all this Grogu, blah 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 blah. But the thing is, for a lot of people, they love tuning into Star Wars, into the Mandalorian, to see what's Grogu gonna do next. And so like, I do think they're lacking on just Grogu doing stuff.
Yeah, I they got to do something fast that, because I can actually see a lot of people falling off of the show after this season. I've seen people watch the first premiere episode this season and say, I'm gonna just wait until it's all out. Like, that's not good. Like this show used to be a must watch every week, and I've found so many people now that are just like, I'm tapped out, like I'm just gonna wait till I can just binge it all,
If I wasn't doing this podcast with y'all, I'd probably wait too.
Yeah, I mean the viewership, it was higher on the premiere, I know that, but yeah, like, I just think, I don't know, it's definitely an interesting thing with this show, just to see where they're going. I mean, we have 3 episodes left as well, so we have next week.
That's the thing, though, and that's what. Well, and that goes back to my point about what's been weak to me is the Moff Gideon stuff. He's been mentioned what, 4 or 5 times?
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's not like Giancarlo Esposito, some nobody actor.
Yeah,
like, I'm tired of hearing about him. I want to see his face, because he was a critical part of season 2.
I honestly don't like the decision, and it's too close to really tell because we haven't seen it. But I really was looking forward to seeing him on trial. I know it might have sounded boring for some people, but I wanted to see like a person being put on trial and have like Mon Mothma there and Leia and like grilling him on like the Imperial Remnant, like, and stuff happening, because we never get a chance to see a villain like answer their crimes in Star Wars. You didn't get to see the Emperor. You didn't get to see Ben Solo. You didn't get to see Anakin / Darth Vader on trial. Those guys all just died. It's like, I want to see that cool stuff, like the courtroom, like just Star Wars stuff, and that got taken away from me, darn it. So I was a little bit bitter on that.
But Chris, you're absolutely right though. Like that's a perfect opportunity to expand Star Wars and to expand, that type of Star Wars. I mean, because I love the politics of Star Wars. Like, I know some people who are old heads who are like, no, that's stupid. I'm like, well, get over yourselves. You're the same people that worry about real life politics, and that's stupid. So at least Star Wars is somewhat,
At least it's fictional politics.
Yeah. It's fictional politics where I get to see lightsabers, the Force, spaceships, and blasters. Okay, so Bo-Katan, facts. Woo. But yeah, it's like, you're right. That's a great opportunity for us to see a great actor in that scene, because he'll cut a great monologue about how much the Empire is the best thing ever, and that the New Republic's trash. Like, that's amazing.
See,
but we wasted it.
I honestly think with Gideon, I think the way, now that I'm seeing how the season's unfolding, especially, so the way this episode ended, like as we mentioned, like Gideon broke out. Like we talked about that. Like Gideon got help breaking out, and there's Beskar there. So the thing is,
I think that's the setup.
Who broke him out for 1, for 2? Yeah, it could be a setup, of course, like you said. It could be a setup. Yeah, I'm thinking along the lines of, though, I think he's going to have some of his Mandalorian loyalists. Like when he possessed the Darksaber, I think it's going to be some of those people potentially
Oh.
that are breaking him out because, and maybe it's some of Bo's people because, Bo literally said her people left her and are like working through the galaxy as mercenaries and stuff. So there's potentially some of them, maybe. And then, I don't know. I just have this weird feeling. It just seems like the only way Gideon could have got the Darksaber from Bo-Katan, like I just keep going back to that. Like I just can't get over that. The only way he could have gotten the Darksaber from her, unless like I don't know, the Empire had a gun to her or a blaster to her or a blaster to like someone she loved. Like the only way she would have given it up is if he would have defeated her. Like it's either how could he have defeated her in combat for one, but for two, was he a foundling at some point? Like was he a Mandalorian that left the Mandalorian way to join the Empire because we've seen that with Gar Saxon, in Rebels.
Yeah.
So like my thing is Moff Gideon going to be kind of like our live action Gar Saxon type thing where it's like he is going to be like a Mandalorian. I mean, this could be like a mega stretch, but like I just don't know where else we could go with the Darksaber thing, like because we have to have some type of answer as to how he got the Darksaber from Bo. And my only thing with that is what if he's a Mandalorian and he took it from her? Maybe that's why. Like,
yeah. So there's that
I don't know.
perspective. What perspective are you thinking about, Millen? From what's going on in this situation?
With Moff Gideon.
With the breakout.
Oh yeah, it's got to be an inside job. It's somebody that we know of or we've heard of. Let me because there's no way the Imperial remnants or quote unquote the potential First Order that we know is coming would have done it because again they're too busy on the Outer Rim being rebuilt. So and I will say a good part about this particular thing that ties into Gideon is what the New Republic pilot was saying. He's like, there's something out there. Like something the Empire is reforming, which I love because we all know that's true. And everyone else is like, oh no, the Empire's done. Like they're away. Which is what I love about Leia in the what's the book that they did with the bomb, the napkin bomb.
Bloodline.
Bloodline, yes. Where she was like, something's going on out there. So we know Leia and some of the remnants of the New Republic are saying, hey, the Empire ain't going away. So again, like this is where I think they're missing certain elements of, hey, okay, is Moff Gideon a part of this new potential First Order,
Well,
or is he out doing his own separate thing?
Well, Milton, I think I meant to bring up too, on my point, and to go along with yours. I honestly think the way they're doing this season, guys, like of course you have the grand scope of the season, but I really feel like the way Favreau's writing this season, he figured out the finale and the final two episodes. Like he's writing backwards. I really think he's just filling in the puzzle pieces. Like I think that's how they're doing a lot of this writing on this season. Like because it just feels like they're just fitting in like slot leading up to the finale. It feels like they're kind of working backwards from it.
The Avengers, bro.
Yeah, it's kind of like
the build up to the Avengers of Star Wars of Mandalorian.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the direction. I saw one wild theory on Twitter. I was like, man, that's like a 1% chance of happening because we'll get into the Zeb cameo at some point, but with all these Rebels connections. What if it's Sabine like breaking out Gideon to interrogate him about Thrawn potentially? Like I saw that and I was like, man, I think that's a tiny chance of happening, but it would be interesting.
You're muted,
Chris.
Yep, I think it's actually going to be Thrawn because, or not because I think it's possible because that's the sort of thing he would do, like deception, planting evidence, and then having the New Republic go against the Mandalorians, which in doing so is going to help him out because if he's trying to retake the galaxy, then you got these other forces that are just fighting each other. They're not going to pay attention to the other guy out there that's starting to settle like these outsider planets and take over. So seems something that he would do brilliantly.
All right. No, good point.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could easily see it being that. there are just so many options, and it's just like, man, we have 3 episodes left. Like it's like I wish this was the 3rd episode of the season. I really do.
Yeah, yeah. As far as the cameo, the big Zeb
Yep.
cameo, what was your reaction, Milton, when you were watching this?
Eh, it was okay. It was cute. I mean, like, look, I know you were excited because I did watch a video about it, and I'm sure I saw the people post about it on their social medias and whatever. It looked good. Like, it
Yeah.
looked like Zeb. It sounded like Zeb. I saw the other cameos of John Favreau, not John Favreau, of Dave Filoni and Deborah Chow and those
Nick
other people
Fury,
there
yeah,
too.
yeah.
I mean, I was like, okay, it was cute. It was quick, so I'm glad it was quick. Was it necessary? Not really,
But
but
I
it was
thought
cute.
I thought it was so
I
cool
mean,
that
he looked good. Like, I will say, now I got to see him in person, or real in live action. I'm thinking, damn, like, I can't wait to see these other Rebel characters in live action.
well, that's the thing, right?
'Cause
Is who would have thought that he would be the first one to get revealed, right? Like it would have been so easy to throw a Sabine or a Chopper. Well, actually, Chopper has shown up in Rogue One, but or a Hera even. But they throw the hardest guy in there, like the hardest to animate character. And a lot of people have also been saying, like, well, if they've done Zeb, you can do any alien now, any alien in
Exactly.
any
Oh, yeah.
book or comic. They can make them canon now, or make them live action now, because look how difficult it was to make this guy, and they did it flawlessly.
Yeah, he looked great. I mean, it's like, and again, like, you can make this work. Like, we have the technology to make any alien,
Yeah.
de-aging technology. It's there. So
But
there's no excuse to bring a character from animation live action now.
I was just like, my jaw honestly was sort of like this, like for a few seconds,
Yeah.
like I couldn't believe I was seeing what I was seeing, because you see him walking behind him, like, and it was a cameo that was out of nowhere, so out of left field. Like he just walks up and he's just talking. And at first I was like, oh, it's just a Lasat, because they've done a Lasat in live action, kind of, with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Cal Kestis' Master Jar to Pal is a Lasat, and they use that same kind of look from that in this, obviously higher res and everything else, but. Yeah, and then he started talking, and I said, "Oh, that's definitely Zeb, because it's Steve Bloom's voice." And then I confirmed that looking at the credits once again. I was like, "That was really him! Holy crap!"
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was such a great cameo. That's a traditional cameo, but it makes sense for where they're heading with this universe, because as you mentioned, Milton, it's like the Avengers stuff. They're trying to build these characters out across Mando, across Ahsoka, across Skeleton Crew and Boba, to potentially like do this big crossover or this big event or wherever they're heading with it. So it's cool that they added it in there. It's just a nice little cameo. They did a really good job, like you both mentioned. The animation, he looked excellent. Hey, you saying bringing any aliens now to live action? Hey, bring Dirge now.
Seriously.
Yeah, but yeah, when it comes to him, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, we have Zeb. I mean, heck, potentially by the end of this season, because if you think about it, it'll be after Celebration, so it could get people hyped up even more leading into Ahsoka. Like, maybe we bump into more of the Rebels crew toward the end of this season. Maybe we bump into a Hera, because we have Carson Teva. Like, who's to say, like, we get to the end, like, resolution in this season and he goes back to the Rebel thing, and you have Hera and Zeb, like, the crew, like, gearing up to go do something potentially leading into Ahsoka. So, like, I think there's a chance we get more of the Rebels characters, just because, it's kind of to your point, Chris, like, you go for the hardest possible Rebels character to animate. You don't animate the droids. You don't animate you don't bring in Hera or Sabine or any of the other folks. You bring in the hardest possible one. So it just makes you wonder, are they going to bring in some of the other ones now? Like Sabine. I mean, Sabine's casted. We know who she is. We have several other characters. I mean, we have Hera. We have all of these other characters potentially. And it's just like, I could easily see us getting, if we go back to some of those Rebel scenes with Carson Teva, I could see him bumping back into Zeb, like if Zeb's gearing up for something, or something along those lines like happening, just because it's like it's kind of like the building up of the Avengers universe with oh, what's his name? Like Agent Coulson being around a lot of things. Like, he's always in all these different things. It feels like they're starting to sprinkle in like the Rebels characters like this. Last year it was Ahsoka. This year it's Zeb. Like they're sprinkling these Rebels characters to build out kind of like your Mandoverse Avengers type thing, where the characters are making appearances across these shows. So it's showing, hey, like, these characters are going to matter. Like, soon as we get into Ahsoka's pretty much going to be probably Rebels season 5, or, for all intents and purposes, it's probably heading in that direction. So it's just like, I think they're going to keep doing it. And I think there's a really high chance. I don't think it'll be in the next 2 episodes just because we're going to be dealing with like the Gideon stuff and whatever else with the Mandos. But maybe by the end of this season, we might get some of those other Rebels characters appearing for, something else, because who's to say this Zeb scene was the last scene Zeb is included in?
Yeah, so I like the idea that Zeb is part of this Rangers of the New Republic, because they literally say we are the Adelphi Rangers. That's what he introduces himself as when he's talking to the Mandalorian. So I was like, yes, it's really neat to see him as a Y-Wing pilot. I'm just putting it out there. Usually it's the red jumpsuits. Not all the time that you do. I guess it doesn't really make sense. I can't see him fitting in an X-Wing. I feel like Y-Wings have more space. And that guy's like freaking 8 feet tall. So he's got to have some kind of specialized cockpit or something. But it was really neat seeing him as a pilot for the New Republic. And I like the whole idea of this Carson Teva character. I really like how he is.
I like the actor.
Yeah, a great actor from what I've seen so far of him. Paul Sun Hyung or something like that. Something like that. But him going out in his X-Wing, just like traveling the galaxy, kind of gave me a lot of like Rogue Squadron feels, especially as he's flying on Mando's worlds, like that Rocky Cannon with the X-Wing. Look great, by the way. That's such great visual effects coming from ILM. But yeah, overall, I just like the idea of him exploring and him just looking for the answers and having the tenacity to just go out of his way to do this. And he's gonna be one of the leaders of the resistance or something. I feel like they're gonna retroactively throw him in there in the 40-year recut of The Force Awakens. You'll see Carson Teva there at the map trying to attack Starkiller Base in the background.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they would do something like that. I think with him, gosh, I don't know about you guys, but man, when he was investigating the Gideon stuff, I was like, man, I hope Carson doesn't get taken out right here, because it felt kind of like spooky, I thought it was going to be something out of like Aliens or something, like all of a sudden he just gets like attacked, like, because it was like, man, he's just investigating this ship that got broken into and everything. It's like, I hope something bad doesn't happen here. Luckily he made it out, but yeah, I'm really liking his character, and I can't wait to see where he goes, because I feel like I just mentioned about the Rebels characters being like the Agent Coulson, but maybe Carson Teva is like our Agent Coulson. Like, what if he pops up in Ahsoka or Skeleton Crew? Because Skeleton Crew presumably is going to be taking place out this way as well. Like, so it's just like, maybe we're going to get Carson Teva popping up here and there, because he might be our model Agent Coulson for this Mandoverse.
Very interesting. I like the connective tissue. Yeah, that could be the character that goes everywhere. The Samuel Jackson of the MCU. The Nick Fury of it all. But
I mean,
I was going to transition to talk more about the battle. Everything happening on Navarro. I thought it was really odd how you have Grief Karga and like a whole bunch of citizens just like running out of the place, and they're perfectly fine, like walking around with no cover, just walking. It's like, what the heck is the purpose of the pirates? And do you think, are they actually there by their own accord, or do you think they are being ordered by the Empire somehow? Milton, what do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, look, I love the battle. I'll say it this way. Like I mentioned early, love the way it looked, how it was shot. Mando's a badass in the ship. Bo-Katan can do no wrong when she comes to fighting. Um, my only pet peeve about this battle is that like Reef Karga, like now, do they control the whole planet or just like that town?
Sounds like the whole planet. That sounds like the only thing on the planet is that little tiny settlement.
Okay, and that's where I was getting confused because like I'm thinking like, are they in control of like, is it a town they're all in control of or a planet? It was just, it seems silly, and it's like okay, like, and a lot of shows do this. They're like, oh, the planet or the town's being threatened. It's like 50 people. It's like, come on.
Well,
Yeah.
Milne, I think Carl Grief is kind of like Lando is, because he said he's the High Magistrate of Navarro, so I think it's kind of like Lando being like the guy for Bespin, kind of.
Okay,
Very
all right.
nice.
So if that's the case, again, it was weird to me, but I mean, I overall liked what I was seeing with that particular part of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
The pirate, I don't like the pirate. He's kind of like cliche villain. Like, just I'm
Yeah.
glad he got killed easily.
But
Get him
it's
out
like
of there.
sometimes-
He's a pirate in space. I mean, literally, like
Yeah, get him out.
But no,
Like-
sometimes it's good to have characters like that, right? And
No,
Star
you're
Wars,
right. You're right. You're right.
It's
and
fun.
here's the thing,
it's
because
like a serial type of thing like George Lucas would do.
I agree. No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. He's that typical villain.
Yep,
Get him out quick. Like
Get him out quick, yeah.
he wasn't. If they would have made him OP for some weird reason, I'm like, that's bullshit.
Which is funny.
Because like you can't make him like powerful. Like he's very cartoonish on purpose.
It's funny
Yep.
because some people I think were rumored or just making connections like, oh, this could be the new villain for the Skeleton Crew show. It's like so much
No.
for that idea as he goes crashing and burning into the side of the freaking mountain.
Get him out. Get him out. And let's be real here. And look, I have no idea what's going to happen with Skeleton Crew. I've read nothing on this except for what you guys say.
There's nothing on it. Don't
You
worry.
you don't make that particular character the pirate the villain because you can't really. You got to put an actor in there that's going to express villain stuff. That's not the type of villain you use for that type of like main villain. Like he's a throwaway. He's a C-level villain.
Yeah, I mean
But
that makes sense.
I like the idea of his crew though. Like I like how much that Jon Favreau and his crew leaned into. This is literally the pirate. I mean, we're talking about the episode called The Pirate. They went all in on space pirates just from the way they were speaking, kind of that piratey tone, to the music. The theme of that character sounded like something. This is basically Pirates of the Caribbean because then you see like the people chilling, like just drinking all their booze and everything, just like half drunk. Like this looks like a town in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Oh, facts.
Even the Unknot had like this cool headband and stuff, and it was just they went all. I appreciate how they put that in there, all that kind of detail.
Yeah, it was typical cartoony pirate crap because literally I told myself, I'm like, they're filthy. I'm like, I couldn't live like this. Even if I was a pirate, I'd be like, all right, this is too much. Like, can we at least like stop breaking stuff? At least like have something nice around here. All they're doing is breaking everything and drinking stuff. Literally, the guy was bringing out the food. He smacks it out of his hand. I'm like, are we in high school, bro? That's a
really.
good pizza you're wasting.
Really?
I was mad. I'm like, you're wasting food, bro. I'm hungry. What are you
doing?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Like I really like the pirate stuff. Like I didn't mind it this episode because like you mentioned, Chris, it's kind of like, it fits your serialized villain of the week type thing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like for all these Star Wars shows, no matter how much we debate like the overarching stories of any of these things, whether it be this or Andor or Kenobi or whatever, you have to have a villain of the week type episode every now and then because you can't have the galaxy hanging in the balance every week or it's going to lose that effect, So I don't mind it. I thought I enjoyed the pirate stuff for what it was. It also introduced the stuff with the pirates this season, anyways, introduced some interesting things though going into Skeleton Crew, potentially Ahsoka, like them mentioning the pirate nation and like the that portion of the galaxy, like it makes you wonder like some of our characters might run into those people. And if we go more into this pirate stuff, say if it's in Skeleton Crew, for example, please give us Hondo in live action. Like why not at this point? I think that would be really neat. But yeah, it was really good. It was a good action sequence, I feel. I think they did a good job with it. And like, like you mentioned, Chris, like the townspeople running away, like, I don't know, were the pirates' objectives just to like just destroy the city and like spare the people or something? I don't know, but it just kind of it. I think the cool thing that came out of this though was just seeing the Mandos all teaming up in action versus the pirates. Even though I always want to say Carl Weathers, but Grief like mentioned they're outnumbered 10-1 basically. So even though they were outnumbered and all this stuff, it was still cool seeing the Mandos like jumping into action like that. I really did appreciate that because it was cool getting to see like Paz and Bo-Katan and Mando and all these guys like jumping into the fight and like working as a team versus just being like this, group of people hiding in caves, constantly working on armor. So I thought that was really a good portion of it. Also, one thing I do want to mention, guys, like we can jump back to this pirate thing. I'm not sure if you guys had thought about bringing it up yet, but I thought one of the best parts of this episode, though, was when they were meeting and debating whether to go help out Navarro. I loved the speech. I loved when Paz like took over, like, because I was like, man, are we about to have Paz just be like this grumpy dude again?
I was
like,
really not getting it.
Because I was like, dude, like, what is the? I was telling my buddy, I was like, man, I think he's gonna throw down with Din right here or something. Like, I was thinking we were gonna have a little wrestling match, and then the fact that he like did kind of like the heel turn, I thought that was pretty good for his character, and it made me appreciate and like his character more going into this whole pirate fight. It gave me more stakes for Paz's character because it's like, as soon as we went into this pirate fight, I was like, man, they did this stuff with Paz. Is he gonna like get taken out by these pirates or something? You know what I mean? Because you see that in shows where they do these emotional moments or whatever to like kill him off really quickly. So it was definitely good that they didn't knock off Paz. But I really enjoyed that moment leading into the pirate fight.
Yeah, but talking, especially that, I like the little detail of them using the Mandalorian like pincers or whatever, the hammer they're tossing. Whoever holds the hammer speaks. I like that idea. And that subjection, subverting of expectations for Paz. Like, he starts off and you're like, I was literally like this, just my hand over my forehead, just like shaking my head, like, oh, this guy's gonna ruin it all. They're not gonna be able to help and all that. But it was great to see him pointing the facts, like, hey, Bo-Katan saved my kid, didn't help save as well. These are good people. Let's reclaim our homeland. And the idea that they're going to be out of the shadows into the light, and just seeing, I think this sequence was built up to just show how great and adept at combat the Mandalorians are, especially utilizing each other's helps. It was basically like the Marines going in and just wiping out the special forces going and wiping them out, because they're all like little squads, just like taking them out. Like, the most trouble they had was like the E-Web, and then the armor just took the guy out anyway. And it was funny because like at the moment it's like, dude, you're firing a gun. Don't you hear like 3 of your comrades just like dying behind you? But he didn't care. He was having too much fun being drunk and just trying to kill as many Mandos as he could. He was like, oh, I guess I'm going to die this way. And he just gets thrown off the thing. But overall, phenomenal. And I like a good Star Wars sequence where we have a fight going in the sky or in space, and a fight going on the ground, intercut between the both. And I thought that was a really good job by the director to be able to seamlessly kind of go back and forth and have the things affecting each other. And just, it was fantastic.
Well, here's something to throw out there too. I saw people point out the director of the week. I'm forgetting the name, but it was the first time it was like the first or second time they directed live action. It was like it was a live action debut, I'm pretty sure, for them in terms of TV. So I thought that was really well done. But I think the direction, like the way they did the action sequences, I thought were done really well. And then like, I just thought it was done really, really well. Like overall, like, each character got their moments, like Din, Bo-Katan, the armor, Paz, everybody. It also makes you think, like, the more I watch this season, I'm not sure about you guys, but the more I watch this season, I really think I've seen a lot of people point out, oh, we're not getting a lot of Din Djarin this year, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
I honestly think a lot of that has to do with him not being there, like him filming The Last of Us and being like, hey, I have this time, you know. I really think The Last of Us has something to do with it. I really, really do. So I think that's another reason the way they've gone about doing things for this year. But yeah, I liked that he even got in some action on this episode. That was nice. And yeah, it just was a really fun episode. Like that was just traditional like Mandalorian action. And yeah, I think it's kind of like your test. You know, you see it in wrestling, Milton. Like it's kind of like you have your little warm-up match before the big match. And I think this is kind of like their warm-up before they're facing like Gideon and his crew is what I'm kind of like comparing it to.
And what excites me now is we have basically seen everything in the trailers that I'm aware of. So now it's just anybody's guess what these next 3 weeks are going to hold for us here. So let's break it down. Let's give our scores and final thoughts out of 10. I'll throw this over to Milton.
Yeah. Overall, this was a good episode. Again, I will say it again. I thought Bad Batch was the superior episode this week. Again, I like the action. Probably my favorite part was the action, and seeing anything with Bo-Katan is just all that and a bag of chips. It had its weak points. Part of the episode overall within the story drug at times, but again, hopefully it pays off these final 3 episodes. I mean, it better. We only have 3 episodes left. So I like the episode. I love the music, love the action. Visually, it looked great. I love seeing Coruscant. I thought the Ranger part talking to the officers was kind of weak. I think we talked about the dialogue within that. So overall, I thought this episode was a good, solid 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 from Milton. And yeah, I agree with you. I think Bad Batch the last 3 weeks has been better for me. It's been crazy. I keep telling Ben to kind of annoy him, like, hey, Bad Batch was better this week, just kind of pressing your buttons like, oh, here we go again. But yeah, I mean, everything with this episode was a good setup episode, but a good episode that tied things together, but still gave me some really good entertainment, and it pushed things in new directions, subverted expectations with Bo-Katan, getting the ball moving, getting the characters where they need to be, but also giving us glimpses at things that could come in future series like Carson Teva and like Zeb, and just phenomenal stuff in that regards of, you know, pushing this story forward, but also maybe building other stories around that. So I gotta, give this an 8.5 out of 10. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, for me, I love this episode. I do think, you know, a lot of people say the Bad Batch episodes may have been better to a degree, but that's just because we've had such low expectations and the show's been so bad. And like Mando's expectations are much higher. I think that's the big reason why for that. But for this episode, I do think it was the best of this season, though, so far. I think, you know, you got some of your Mandalorians working together. You got your action. You got some good stuff with all of our main characters for the most part. You got good character developing moments for side characters such as Pez. It also makes me a little interested to see down the road, since we've gotten these little pieces building up with Paz. I feel like he could be a character. Maybe Moff Gideon kills him off. Like, now that we've got a little bit of an emotional connection to his character, like maybe he gets taken out. So I think there's potentially stakes down the line for his character. And then, of course, you know, just overall, I thought the episode was fun. It was a fun, good episode. And then Zeb, you know, we can't understate enough, like, the importance of that cameo, just because it's expanding the Mandoverse. It's expanding Star Wars as a whole in terms of bridging animation to live action. This shows right here, as Milton pointed out earlier, this shows there's no excuse. Like, you can't say animated to live action isn't a thing anymore, because Zeb's character transition from animation to live action was seamless, in my opinion. So I think with all of that, and then of course, like the Carson Teva stuff, it's getting really interesting with him. And then just, I'm interested to see what happens in the coming weeks with the Gideon type of stuff. Yeah, so we have a lot to look forward to. I think in these final 3 episodes. So for me, I would have to give this a 9 out of 10.
All right. Cutting it even with Bad Batch this week. You got a 9 out of 10 for both. We got
Yep.
what'd you give it, Milton? Would you give it like an 8?
8.
8,
I
and then
think.
an 8.5 for me. So we're running the gambit of the higher scores on this episode. We both really enjoyed it as well. Reading off our chat. Sorry, I haven't been able to keep up with chat as much because I've had tech issues where every time I tab over to the chat, it automatically takes our images or video feeds down for some reason. I think it has to do with the Windows update. But anyway, we have a 9 out of 10 from Dark Nerdy Gonzo. For me, best episode of Mando Season 3 so far. Still Bad Batch wins this week. We have Timbo Toys joining us. And we have, let's see, we have Peter Griffin, Family Guy fan, I'm guessing. We have Chris Forsyth in the chat. So, yeah, thanks for everybody for jumping in. Alex Elkins, Christopher Weber. We had a very active chat tonight. And, well, what we can do is in 3 weeks' time, join us once again for our breakdown of Star Wars Celebration, because that's what we're going to be talking about. A lot of information is going to be coming out a week from now. A week from now is when all the madness will begin. By this point, you guys will have
In
already
three
heard
weeks,
all the news.
in 3 weeks, it'll be the finale
Oh,
of Mando.
oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I guess, well, geez, why can't Lucasfilm just give us a week to breathe, man? Seriously,
Yeah.
it's like we got Celebration and a freaking finale episode all in one episode. I guess we'll have to start early that night or something. Well, probably not, but we'll just kind of keep it concise, and we'll have plenty of more time after that. Oh wait, no, we won't, because then we'll have Vision Season 2 to talk about the next week, and then we'll have Jedi Survivor to talk about. It just doesn't end. This is what happens. This is the new state of Star Wars here. So yeah, we'll get to the stuff when we can get to it. Timbo Toys is now giving it a 9 out of 10 for me for Mendo. Okay. Alrighty then. So I'm gonna have the people find out where they can follow you, Milton, and what you're gonna be up to.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at MiltonWeber7 or Instagram at Milton7Weber. This weekend, I'm celebrating my brother's birthday tomorrow, so we're doing dinner with my brothers and sisters. It's gonna be fun. And Sunday, just relaxing, getting ready for the upcoming work week. I've been, like I said, been sick, so hopefully I can just relax this weekend and recover and just try to feel better. But other than that, just keeping it simple. Probably get a workout in and just relax, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing this weekend as well. Just a lot, working out. Happy birthday to your brother, Milton. Hopefully you guys have a really good day tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. The birthdays are always a great time. Yeah, for me, it's going to be kind of similar. Minus celebrating any birthdays, it's going to be just kind of working out, chilling, just that sort of thing. The typical weekend for me, like continuing my diet, continuing just that fitness grind, and talking Star Wars. And just think, guys, we are literally a week away from potentially this time next week. We will potentially have had Star Wars movies announced. These other big show announcements, potentially an Ahsoka trailer, like all kinds of things next week. So, we're literally 7 days away from awesome news, hopefully. And Chris will be there for all of this. But you can find me talking about all of this news at Real Ben Maynard on Twitter. And then you can follow me on Instagram at Real Ben Maynard as well. I usually try to post my workouts and stuff. I haven't lately. I've been mainly just sharing more like funny Instagram reels and things. But yeah, you can find me on those social platforms.
Heck yeah. And just follow me here on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Starrapter. I will try to see what kind of content I can get out. I can't promise anything simply because I'm going to be in a foreign country. And I'm not going to probably have much data on the phone without, going over. If I have Wi-Fi, that'll be a blessing, I guess. But we know how those convention centers can be, especially when you have like 40,000 people all trying to get on the internet at once. It's never the most reliable connection. So, as I said off the top, I'm going to have that video of the panel that we're going to be doing. Bounty Hunters, Smugglers, and Gangsters of Scum and Villainy through the years. That'll be happening over on the fan stage if you are in England and you are at the convention. we're going to be on the flyer. Go find us wherever that stage is. 3rd floor, I believe. And other than that, yeah, I'll be just gallivanting through Europe, through Amsterdam, and through Berlin, Germany. So it's going to be quite a thing to experience, and hopefully it all goes nice and smooth. That's the main
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. And
Yeah, it'll be a blast for you and everybody there. I can't wait. And then just for any of our listeners here in the final portion of the episode, keep in mind this coming week for Celebration, for all the Celebration days, if you're wanting to keep up with the news like live as it breaks, most likely it'll be 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. East Coast time, because they will be about 5 hours ahead of us, 5 or 6 hours ahead of us.
yeah, so the panel for the one you're all going to want to watch, the one where most of the news is going to come out, is on Friday at 11 o'clock British Standard Time, or whatever. So be prepared to be up at like 6 o'clock for if you want to know the second details. There might be a trailer out then. Who knows? I wouldn't make any promises on that though, because what happened last year is they didn't stream a darn thing from that opening panel. So if it's anything like last year, don't go expecting to see it, but maybe just see some tweets about some updates, and that's about it.
Yep. That's the best way to do it. And then just if you're dying to find the trailers, just keep refreshing Twitter, because sometimes they leak and then they get taken down quick. Like last year I saw the Ahsoka trailer, pretty cool, and then it was taken down like 10 minutes later. So, you want to be on Twitter when these panels are breaking, because if there's a trailer, it's inevitably going to leak. So just keep that in mind if you're wanting to find the trailer.
Oh yeah. So, well, without further ado, this is the longest we're going to go without an Outer Rim Transmission episode for probably until the next time something's overseas, because I never take 2 weeks off in a row. So here we go. So you are going to see us in 3 weeks' time to talk about Celebration, to talk about the Mandalorian Season 3 finale, and everything else that has happened in the next 2 weeks. So looking forward to it. It's been fun here. Thanks for everybody for joining in the chat. Until next time, that's going to do it for Outer Rim Transmission episode 102. Thanks for being here in transmission.